Hello everyone, it's Tony Lee Peters here. How are you? I hope you're very well. I'm very well too, thank you for asking. So today I want to share with you a really easy, simple technique to help you deal and cope with any problem that you might be facing. And to show you this technique in action, I'm going to share with you a problem that I have, and then I'm going to work through this technique to hopefully solve the problem. And this technique involves asking yourself four main questions. And you can use it on yourself, or you can help other people with it if you know that someone else is going through a problem. There will be an information sheet available, as always. So if you'd like a copy of that with the four questions, just type the word problem in the comments below, and I will send that to you via Messenger. Okay, so let's talk about how to effectively deal with a problem. So very often when we have a problem, we can find ourselves getting more caught up in the emotions and the feelings around the problem than the problem itself. It's almost as if our emotions and feelings make the problem 10 times worse than it actually is. You might have shared a problem with a friend before, and because the friend isn't connected to the emotions and the feelings, the friend is able to say, well, that's easy, just do this or do that. And yeah, that might be the right thing to do. But because of our emotions and our feelings, it can be quite hard to get to that point, or we might not want to be able to deal with our emotions, and so we don't deal with it effectively. So this technique helps you to kind of unpack all your emotions and your feelings and deal with a problem. So as I said, there are four main questions. The first question, really simple, is asking you what is the problem. So it's asking you to identify the problem. So the problem that I have today is that since I have woken up this morning, I have been consumed with memories of my grandma. More specifically, memories of her final few weeks, her last few weeks, and more specifically, her last day. Obviously, it was a very traumatic time. So my problem that I'm experiencing is that I am reliving memories of a traumatic period. Question number two is, what do I really want to do about this problem? Well, I want to change these traumatic memories into much fonder memories. So I want to think of my grandma in happier times. I don't want to think of her in distress. I want to think of her enjoying life. I want to think of her with her family, of when she was in the garden planting flowers, or in the kitchen baking lemon meringue pie. So what I want is, I want the automatic memories of my grandma to not be traumatic and negative. I want them to be of happier times. Question three, what am I currently doing about this problem? So what am I currently doing about this problem? I'm trying to replace the negative memories with kinder memories. So what I want to do, or what I'm currently doing about it, is when I recognize that I'm having this traumatic memory, I'm trying to stop thinking about that and then replace it with something positive. I'm finding it quite difficult to do that, and I'm also finding that I might not be aware straight away that I'm wallowing in this memory of my grandma. So in other words, it might take me a certain period of time to realize that that's what I'm doing, and then I'll try to stop it, shut that memory down, and replace with something positive. But it's not really working. So what am I currently doing? I'm trying to replace the negative traumatic memories with something positive. Question four, the last question, and probably the most important question. Thinking wisely rather than emotionally, what steps can I now take to get to what I want? So what I want is, I want my automatic memories to be of grandma in happier times. But as I'm going through these questions with you now, I'm beginning to realize that actually, number one, I think the reason why today I'm being consumed by these memories is because my grandma died. She passed away in June a few years ago, and today is the 1st of June. So that's probably why I'm being consumed with these memories. And two, rather than, if I'm trying to approach this, if I'm trying to approach this wisely rather than emotionally, I think that it would serve me better to not shut off the traumatic memories and to actually confront and deal with those traumatic times. So it would be good for me to recall what I'm thinking during these traumatic memories and try to unpack that. So, because the question is asking me thinking wisely rather than emotionally. Well, these traumatic memories are all based, all surrounded with emotion and based on emotion and feeling. So I need to be unpacking that. If I'm going to be thinking of a problem emotionally, I'm not going to be able to solve it. But if I think of a problem wisely, I can get underneath the emotion and I can solve the problem. So what are the negative things that I'm thinking of specifically? I'm thinking of things like there are things that I wish that I had said that I didn't say to my grandma in the last few weeks. There are things that I said that I wished that I hadn't said. So, for example, I can remember it was a very hot June, and as she was in her hospital bed, I can remember complaining about how hot it was on a few occasions. Complaining about how hot it was when my grandma was there in the hospital bed going through what she was going through. So yeah, I wish I hadn't said those kind of things, and that plays on my mind. I also wish that I could have spent more time with my grandma during her last few weeks. And I guess the main memory or the main thing is just witnessing my grandma in distress and seeing her in pain. So now, rather than looking at that emotionally, let's look at those things wisely. So things that I wish that I had said to my grandma, a wise approach to that is, actually, I can remember at the time there was things that I wanted to say to my grandma, but I can remember making a conscious decision at the time that if I was going to unburden myself to my grandma, it was only going to make myself feel better. And this was a time for my grandma, a time to comfort her and to support her. It wasn't a time about me. It wasn't my time to do that. So that's why I didn't say the things that I wanted to say. So why am I hanging on to, I wish I'd said these things? Second thing was things that I said that I wished that I hadn't, and I gave the example of it being really hot. Well, it was a very traumatic, emotional time, and I guess what I was doing was I was deflecting away from the awfulness of the situation by concentrating on something as mundane as the weather. Spending more time with my grandma, wishing that I'd spent more time with her during her last few weeks. If I look at that wisely, I actually think that I couldn't have spent any more time with my grandma. So during the last few weeks of her life, both me and my mum were able to support her and comfort her as much as possible. So some days we would take it in turns. It would be alternate days. We would visit, but more often than not, and especially closer to the end, we were both there every single day for long periods of time. And not only were we there to support my grandma, but we were there to support each other. And any of you that have been in a similar situation, that have witnessed the passing of a loved one, is such a unique, such a painful, traumatic period that there is a degree of needing some time for yourself so that you can process the emotions. And that was certainly true for both myself and my mum. I can remember having conversations with mum about, or should we spend a little bit more time? But both coming to the realization that actually we needed time away from that situation so that we could deal with it in our own way and then come back and actually be there and support my grandma. And the last overriding memory that I'm having is witnessing her pain and witnessing the transformation that happens. And if I look at that wisely and try to not look at that emotionally, I come to the realization that I was incredibly privileged to have been there during that time. And I feel honored to have witnessed her passing, and to have been there supporting and comforting her as she passed away. It's testament to the kind of person that my grandma was, that during her final moments she was surrounded by love and she was with her family, which is what we all want when we pass. And so looking at that wisely, I'm starting to feel better about the things that I'm thinking about. And I've just realized that by hanging on to this emotional trauma and this emotional memory, what I'm actually doing is trying to hang on to my grandma. So I'm trying to hang on to my grandma's last few days. But what would be more beneficial to me would be to hang on to the whole of my grandma, to remember all of her, rather than just remember those last few painful weeks and days. So I hope this has shown you how these 4 questions can help you to deal with any problem, and use this for yourself. Think of your own problem and then work your way through these questions and see how they can help. It's certainly helped me to realize that there is an emotional way of thinking about things and a wiser way of thinking about things, and the wiser way is going to serve me better. And I think moving forward for this month, for me personally, I'll be able to experience this anniversary in a much more positive way than I have been able to in previous years. So don't forget, if you would like your own copy of the information sheet with the 4 questions listed, please type the word problem in the comments below and I will send that to you via Messenger. Thank you very much for watching. Whatever it is you're doing today, make sure it's a good one, and please remember to be kind to yourself. Take care. Bye-bye.